comes to making changes in my home, I think it's safe to say that my very favorite way to do it is by adding trim and other details to the walls in my home. There is something about adding some trim to your home that adds so much character, makes it feel a lot more homey, and just makes such a big difference. And the best part is it's usually pretty affordable. It's a really accessible DIY project, and it makes your house feel like no other house on the block. This is one of those projects that I think a lot of people can be intimidated by or maybe aren't sure where to get started. So today I thought I'd take you on a little tour of all the trim that we have added to our current home. We live in a home that was built in 2019, and we actually are the first people to ever live in it. We built this house. So when we moved in, it was just a white box, and it looked like every other white box in our entire neighborhood. And I love our home, and I have loved living in this home, but I don't generally love the feel of new construction homes. I want something that feels a little more lived in, something that feels like it has some life and some character to it. So it was really my mission to spend a lot of time updating our home, adding some trim and adding some characters so that we could really bring some of that older home energy into our new home. Over the 5.5 years that we have lived here, I have added trim all over this house. And today I'm gonna walk you through every single trim project we have done in this house so that you can see how we've really transformed it over time into something with a ton of personality that does not feel like a new construction home. Let's do it. The first place you will see some trim in our home is right when you walk in the door. We have some tall beadboard trim in our entryway, and it's one of my favorite projects. Beadboard is really easy to install, and it can be customized to fit your style. You can do it at different heights. You can do all sorts of different colors. I kept mine a little bit taller and added some trim along the top, and then I painted it all a really dark, moody color to create a really cozy and welcoming feeling when you walk in the door. I love how this turned out so much, and beadboard is a project that I have used over and over and over throughout all of the homes I've lived in. If you head up the stairs, you'll find some board and batten. This is another project that I have done tons of times over the years, and I truly believe it is such a classic trim treatment. Installing this one is also really simple. You just place what are called battens, which are the vertical boards, directly on your wall and nail them into place. You'll also want to put a vertical piece along the top to cap things off, and that's really all there is to accomplish the board and batten look. Now, traditionally, there's actually a board underneath these to create a perfectly smooth wall behind it, but I always skip that part and I think it still looks great. This is a really forgiving wall treatment and is super simple to install. Not all of them have to be spaced perfectly on each and every wall. You can customize it to fit your space, and it is so beautiful and a classic look that will really never go out of style. We have it all the way down our upstairs hallway, and it makes me smile every time I'm up there. As you can see, I've painted it a really creamy neutral, and I painted the doors and trim to match. Continuing our tour of upstairs, you've got my son's bedroom, which has some chair rail molding. Basically, chair rail refers to a piece of trim that is at the height on the wall about where the back of a chair would hit if you were to be scooting the chair out. Typically, chair rail molding is used just to separate between two different wall treatments. For example, in his room, we've got some paint on the bottom and wallpaper on top. I've also used it to separate two colors between a wall, and you can also use it just as an accent piece. You don't have to do anything different above or below it. It can just add some texture. This is easily one of the simplest things to do because all it takes is installing one piece of horizontal trim all the way around the room. It creates a really beautiful look and adds some texture without spending a lot of money or taking a lot of time. Next up, in my boys' bathroom, we've got what I call board and batten with a twist. Consider this your reminder that there are really no limits to what you can do with wall trim. Basically, I took the concept of board and batten, extended it all the way to the ceiling, and then whenever I was done, I added some extra supports in the middle and then put some pretty trim pieces on the inside of the board and batten to add some extra texture. You can see that happening right here. It's just some pretty detailed trim that I added on the inside of the boxes to elevate things a little bit and make it feel special. You can do anything like this whenever you are installing trim. Basically, if you can dream it up and think it would look good, try it out. The one thing to keep in mind whenever you're doing this is that the caulk and nail filling does get a little bit tedious. It's exhausting, but it's so satisfying and so worth the extra effort. This is definitely a trim treatment I could see myself using again and again. Here's a little close-up of how the finished product looks in their bathroom. It's truly one of my favorite projects I've done in this house. And my last upstairs trim treatment to talk about is another classic, and that is shiplap. As you can see, I've installed it vertically here in our family's bonus room, and this is truly one of my favorite trim treatments. It's so easy to install, and again, it is a classic that's really never gonna go out of style. Installing tongue and groove shiplap is super simple. My only recommendation, as you can see here, is that I like to pre-paint it because it makes it a lot easier. It can be really annoying to paint inside all of those cracks and crevices. Again, the finish work on this one can be a little bit tedious, but the end result is so worth the effort. In addition to this room, I've also used it on our fireplace, our island, and the bathroom ceiling, so I think it's safe to say it's pretty versatile. And the last wall trim treatment I have in my house is definitely my favorite, and that is the picture frame molding that I have in my bedroom. This was the first trim treatment that we added to our house, and to this day, it is still one of the very best. It's a little more complicated to install, but still pretty simple. And as you can see, it starts with a chair rail. And then you use a small detail trim to create boxes on the top and the bottom of the wall. This is another trim treatment that's really forgiving and really customizable, and the end result is so elevated and so incredibly beautiful. I love this trim treatment so much that I actually repeated it in our downstairs powder room along with some shiplap on the ceiling. It's one of my favorite spaces in the house, and it's so pretty. And there you have it. All of the different trim treatments that we have added to the house in the 5.5 years that we have lived here. If you have never tried a trim treatment in your home, I encourage you to give it a try. I think you'll be surprised at what a big difference it can make in how your home feels. These actually aren't all of the trim treatments that I've done over the years. I've done a handful in other friends' houses too. So if you want to see even more ideas, I'll link them in the description of this post, and you can see all of the trims I've ever done. Get you inspired to hopefully try something in your home. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I hope that you'll like and subscribe and stick around for the next one. I'll see you next time.